Okay, we do have everybody that's going to be here this evening, so we will go ahead and call the Whitestown Plan Commission meeting to order at 6:30. If everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. A roll call.
Lauren Foley,
Here.
Nathan Harris, Andrew McGee,
Here.
Philip Snowberger,
Here.
Tobey Thomas,
Here.
Cheryl Hancock,
Here.
Chris Gibson.
Here.
We do have 6 of 7 members, so we do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to approval of the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to combine, there's a lot of combinations, so items A and B under new business into one presentation but 2 separate motions. C and D for one presentation but 2 separate motions. E and F for one presentation and 2 separate motions.
I will second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, agenda is amended. And then the June 9th meeting minutes. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to take a look at those. And if you have, either entertain suggestions or a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve the June 9th, 2025 meeting minutes.
Second.
Okay, it's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, minutes are approved. And then I do have one request to speak on non-agenda items. Looks like Michael, I can't see the last name, but if you signed up to speak on a non-agenda item, you can go ahead and.
He said he's a petitioner.
Oh, you're the petitioner, sorry. All right. Does anybody else like to speak on non-agenda items? Any online?
No, sir?
All right. Seeing no presentations or old business, we'll move on to items A and B. Gerber Collision and Glass, PC 25-033-CP Concept Plan and PC 25-034-DP Development Plan. Petitioner, go ahead and come to the podium. Just a reminder, state your name and address.
All right, so I get a mulligan on that, Todd. I'm Jerry Kittle. I'm with Innovative Engineering, address 3961, right here in Whitestown, Indiana. Tonight, I have the privilege of presenting to you Gerber Collision and Glass. Those people that are involved from our side of this is obviously myself, President of Innovative Engineering, Michael Jansen, land owner, Whitestown Crossing LLC, Matt Dixon with Gemini CRE. Tonight we're going to talk about Gerber Collision and Glass. This is just a real quick slide. We'll go through these quickly tonight. I know you have a long list of agenda items. So we are basically at 267 and 65, the Interstate I-65. We're on the west side of I-65. This is within Whitestown Business Park or Whitestown Crossing Business Park, LLC. A little bit closer snapshot. The area that you see, the Tractor Supply, is kind of to the north and to the east of our particular site. The water tower from the town is across the road. Whitecap is directly across Indianapolis Road from this proposed site. Another corner there is the gas station there at basically Indianapolis Road and State Road 267. This site's 1.7 acres. Just this slide here does show a little bit more of the businesses that are in that particular area. This is the proposed site plan. I know it's a little bit more difficult to read, but I think you have it in your packet. The existing site is zoned GB. It's part and lies within the I-65 overlay district. As I mentioned, it's about 1.7 acre site. It fronts actually Traditions Drive. A little bit of characteristic about the building or statistics about the building, it's just over 16,000 square foot. It is used as a body shop and a glass repair shop. The building's just over 24 foot, basically almost 25 foot in height. We have 19 public parking spaces out front. The other 35 parking spaces are kind of in the back and are hidden and screened with a fence. This gives you the lighting, and I know this is difficult to read, but there'll be about 4 light poles in the front along Tradition Drive. Everything else will be served off of wall packs. Landscape plan for this particular site, that's one of the things. This did go in front of the BZA for special conditions and was approved. At that time, there were conditions talked about the landscaping in which we complied with and agreed to. This is all the new landscaping, and you'll notice that there is some additional lot that will stay green with this particular layout. Vehicles, we'll talk a little bit about the business hours. They are an 8 to 5 daily business hours. All the work is done inside the building, so none of the work is done with the exterior of the building or on the exterior. The reason our gates there is obviously we're going to have vehicles that require body work and service, so those will be in the lot and screened with an 8-foot tall fence. That was actually a condition that we raised that to 8 foot from discussions with the BZA. So that's what this slide is just representing, that it is an 8-foot tall fence. This is kind of the architectural elements of it. I know this is difficult to read. It's kind of a two-stage, two-tone gray building. It has some rooftops on the top that are screened with parapet type construction. What we'll call the south building elevation, the one with the Gerber's name on it, and there's an overhead glass door. That's where actually individuals will pick up their vehicle many times like an automobile company does or a car sale does now. You pick up the vehicle inside the building and leave. So you'll pick up the building, review everything with the detailer and their business operations personnel, and then leave and exit the building. So there won't be anything sitting outside other than employee parking that you will see. A little bit of a snapshot from a rendering standpoint. Again, we meet the overlay, I-65 overlay, 2 stone. The material is a couple of different colors of metal with some split face block underneath the foundation edge. This gives you a little bit of representation of the vinyl fence that will be used to screen any vehicles in the storage. We believe that we've satisfied all the staff comments. Your staff report recommends approval. We would open up for any questions or comments you might have that we'll try to answer. Thank you.
Okay. Staff report.
thought the petitioner did a sufficient job of explaining that, but they did, in reviewing the plans, they did meet all of our development standards and are complying with the conditions as placed on the site from the BZA as well. So recommending favorable recommendation, approval.
Okay. All right. We will open the public hearing at 6:41. I do not have anyone that signed up to speak on this item. Is there anybody in the room? Even if you didn't sign up prior, you can still speak if you'd like to. Is there anyone online?
No one online has requested to speak on this item.
All right. And I don't see anyone putting their hand up here in the room. So we'll close the public hearing. Give a few seconds, see if people are looking. All right. We'll close the public hearing at 6:42 then. Open up to the commission. Any questions, comments?
I think because I watched the BZA meeting, and it was my understanding that the doors will be closed during business hours to reduce the noise. Is that correct?
That is correct. Vehicles will be brought inside the building, work will be done on the building, doors will be closed during that time frame.
Okay.
It is a conditioned building, so, right?
It is.
You'll want, all right.
With materials that we have to work with anymore, that's kind of the thing.
Okay. I do appreciate the additional landscaping as well.
And just to clarify, if I remember correctly, the fence, that's a solid style vinyl fence. It's not like a picket style or.
You are correct. I know that's probably the best snapshot we could get, but this kind of sees that. It's a solid vinyl fence. I think your ordinance, if I remember right, requires 7 foot. We went to 8 feet as a commitment through the special exception. Again, we want to protect everything that's there as well, visually and security-wise.
All right, I'd entertain, actually, a couple motions.
Just a really quick question before you do that. I'm just trying to get my bearings on this. Is the front of the building, that's the part that's facing northeast towards Tractor Supply?
It is. It's actually, if you think about it, it's facing what we call State Road 267. This does a couple of things. One, it removes the need for a curb cut on Indianapolis Road that's going to come through a curve of that particular road. And originally, we did plan a curb cut for that from Indianapolis Road. But after review of this, knowing that we're going to come in there with a rollback type truck, and we think the elevation will be more pleasing from State Road 267, even though there'll be another building lot in front of this, we think that's a better solution and a better appearance for the front of this building.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, I'd entertain a motion if there's no other comments, questions.
I'll make a motion to approve docket PC 25-003 or 033-CP, a concept plan for Gerber Collision and Glass, as it is in accordance with UDO section 11.6C and is in compliance with and follows the staff report and staff recommendations and the submitted findings of fact.
Second.
Okay, so motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. And I'd entertain another motion.
I'll make a motion to approve docket PC 25-034-DP Development Plan for Gerber Collision and Glass, as it is in accordance with UDO Section 11.8, and based on the presented staff report, staff recommendations, and the submitted findings of fact.
I will second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes.
Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
All right, next item, C and D, PC 25-035-CP, concept plan, and PC 25-036-DP, development plan, Bridal Oaks multi-tenant building. Petitioner?
I am Bill Drake with Drake Homes of Charleston, Drake Homes and Commercial Builders out of Charleston, Illinois, and introducing Connor Hertow for the proposed new Domino's Pizza on Albert S. White Parkway between it and Phillips Drive. And while I'm booting this up here a little bit, I'll let him tell a little bit about who he is.
Hey guys, my name is Connor Herto. Happy to be here. Thanks for having us. I am a Domino's Pizza franchisee. I have been so for about 6 years. I've been with the Domino's brand for 15. Needless to say, almost my whole life because my father's been a franchisee for about 45 years. I am local to the area. I did start my first business here in Crawfordsville, expanded to Greencastle, then Brazil, and then kind of finding open spaces to bring the Domino's brand into the community. So as Bill's my contractor, my civil engineer, Greg Snell, is here as well. So that's a little bit about me. Along with the Domino's that we're looking to build there, we're going to put in a 3-bay unit, the Domino's on one of the bays, and then looking for retail on the other 2. So.
Along with Connor here, I have built approximately 60 plus of these stores here for his dad and 5 different other franchise owners, pretty much all along the western side of Indiana and Illinois from Interstate 80 down to St. Louis. I brought along a few pictures that this particular store is modeled after, that we built last year there in Effingham, Illinois, and then we built 3 of these in Lafayette, Indiana as well. Colors changed just a little bit, but the proposed colors meet the PUD, and then as well as just light earth tones, it's grays and blacks. This store here is approximately 18 months old. Few of the pictures of the inside of the store. The themes of the store are all virtually exactly the same. Same floor tile, same paint, same colors. Layouts change, just variations between franchise owners. This is the proposed layout, very similar. I'll open up a set of plans here. So this is the typical floor plan for this particular store of 3 units. The addresses have been assigned, and we have the 2 empty units, A and B. And then the proposed elevations of the varying products per each unit to meet the local PUD code. And Greg Snelling with our civil design has done all the civil drawings here for us that's local. And I think everything's up to speed on that. And open it up for questions for us.
Staff report?
This this project is located on the north side of Albert S. White, about 3 lots east of Main Street, just east of the existing gas station that recently opened up. This project, I will point out, the original staff report posted online for the development plan, so 36, did list conditional approval. That was essentially pending their stormwater approval through the county. We have since received that. And so the updated one in your packet this evening does just list approval. So I wanted to make sure to point that out. As a part of that approval, it did require, per the UDO does permit this, but the portion of their underground stormwater, essentially we've relocated some of the landscaping so that it's not interfering with that underground detention area. So, and that plan has been reviewed and determined to be sufficient as well. Staff is recommending approval for both concept plan, so PC 25035, as well as PC 25036 for the development plan. I will answer any other questions you might have on either one of these cases.
Okay. Thank you. I will open the public hearing, but it's 6:53. I don't have anyone that signed up prior to the meeting to speak regarding this item. Is there anybody that would like to speak on this item? Yes, certainly. This is the public hearing portion, so you may ask a question by coming up to the podium. Well, you have to need to come up to the podium, so you're on the record. And you'll need to state your name and address, too.
Oh, I do?
Yes.
Okay. Patricia Brown, 6610 Ferguson Drive. And the back of my house will look at your property across the street. I'm just curious, do you know what else is going to go in that building you're building?
Okay. We'll wait for the public hearing, and you can address
Oh, and then
questions.
how's it going to exit? Out on Albert White or on Phipps?
Just one moment. We'll take all the questions and comments, and then you can address them, please.
Oh, that's it. I just want to know where they exit and what else is going in that building that he's building there.
Okay.
Okay.
And you have any other questions or comments?
Have any other questions, ladies? No? That's good.
Okay. All right.
I'll answer the first question.
We still got the public hearing. I'll let you know when you come. All right. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on this item in the room? All
No,
right.
no one online has requested.
You knew my next question. Thanks, Todd. All right. We'll close the public hearing then at 6:54. Now, petitioner, you may address any comments or questions that were.
All right. Great question. I'll answer the first one. We're looking for reliable, long-term tenants, such as, bigger brands. We're not trying to put anything like, we're not trying to put smoke shops in there. No liquor stores are going in there. Pretty much anything that, just good tenants that are going to be good and right for the community, So, nothing like that. I mean, we're trying to uphold a good standard and things like that, along with everybody else around here. So, and then, did that answer? Yeah. Greg's gonna take that.
I'm Greg Snelling, the civil engineer, 13295 Illinois Street, Carmel. The traffic, the traffic flow, we have a proposed curb cut on Spur Street, which is the one that has the right in, right out island. So, yeah, no driveway on Albert S. White, and then another driveway on Phipps Lane, and that lane, that would allow them to go left or right, and to the right is I think it's not a dead end, there's another driveway, but to the left would be to Main Street, but nothing on Albert S. White. Yeah.
All right. I'll open it up to the commission for questions and comments. Just one thing I'll ask first. I don't have the PUD in front of me. I know he mentioned some other uses that they're not going to put in, but can you pull real quick the uses that are not allowed, would not be allowed?
From the PUD? Yeah, give me a moment.
You got it. Anybody else?
Well, that was kind of one of my questions, was because under the proposed project, it states development at a glance. I saw one inconsistency. It says 32 parking spots on the concept plan, and then on the development plan, it says 30 parking spaces. And then on both of them states a beer garden and outdoor entertainment area is
Yeah, I
listed.
think that's incorrect.
Okay,
There's no beer garden proposed,
okay.
no outdoor entertainment of any size, and I think those plans are 34.
Okay,
I think it's a couple of typos and mix-ups with another project down the street. If you recall the Pause on Tap project, maybe?
so
So
Paul's on
I
tap.
think that may be where Alan, or maybe some of that language might have gotten transposed into this
Okay.
staff report.
So no beer garden, no outdoor entertainment, and 34 parking spots. Okay.
Can you confirm that, Todd? That's maybe something that was left over from a previous,
That would be my guess, yes.
sorry, put you on the spot there.
I didn't know if Alan wrote it, I just said it because I've been dealing with Alan.
So do we know, Todd, or Noah may be able, do we know, is this going to be the spot in between the gas station and what is going to be the Paul's on Tap?
Correct.
So it's the lot in between?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, this is immediately east of the gas station.
okay,
Well, the road and then this lot.
right. Okay.
You said you have 5 other locations?
I have 3 other locations currently in building.
And what kind of businesses are at your other locations that you,
So all 3 of my other locations are freestanding buildings.
okay.
Yeah.
I do have one other question. Are you going to have any dine-in, or is it all going to be strictly carry-out?
This location will strictly be carry-out.
Okay.
We won't have any seats.
As far as ownership of the building, you will own the building?
Correct.
So in essence, this is tenant occupied with the other 2
Correct.
lots open?
Just waiting on Todd. Yeah.
For the accepted uses?
Out of curiosity, will you offer delivery?
Absolutely.
So there's not many that deliver to the north side of Whitestown, so.
I apologize, I might have missed it. You don't have anyone lined up for the other spaces yet?
We've had some interest in, some bigger national brands, a diner, things like that. Nothing set in stone since, we're still in the planning stages, so we have a marketing package out there, but we don't have anything set enough to exactly offer, what the rental rates are going to be and things like that. until we get through this phase of the process, so.
Okay.
So the PUD essentially mimics the general business district for the commercial portion. And I am working on pulling up that prohibited or permitted list essentially. Okay, start with essentially the commercial uses. There are some civic, but I think we're all kind of interested probably more in the commercial. So indoor art, recreation, entertainment would be permitted. Outdoor art, recreation, entertainment would be a limited use. Restaurants are permitted, essentially all types. Hotel or motel would be permitted, be a little tight on this lot and site. Medical office is a limited. All other office would be permitted. Retail sales, animal sales, service, household pets would be a limited. Food sales or market would also be limited. Kennels would be special exception. Liquor stores would require special exception. Pawn shops not permitted. Landscape contractor would be a limited. Retail sales service with special handling requirements would be a special exception. There are some limitations on personal service and repair. Automobile service light would be permitted. Heavy would be take a special exception. Automotive, motorcycle, boat, light truck sales or rental would be a limited. Special exception for a service station. Truck stop not permitted. Tower, not. Communication services limited. Telecommunications not permitted. Look at any of these others. Roadside produce stands permitted. That's the list in general
Okay.
business.
And just for those in the audience, anything that Todd stated as a special exception would require the petitioner to come before the Board of Zoning Appeals for that use. It's not a allowable use without
Correct.
the Board of Zoning Appeals approval.
Yes, yes. And essentially, if there's other uses not listed, those would be prohibited uses.
So Todd, if it's a limited, what do you mean by limited? Because there was
Each-
several of those that you said limited.
Yeah, each use, if there is a limited, essentially we have a whole limit table in there specific to the use. It may say that the use can only be a certain size. It may say, or the limitation may have to do with lighting. Limitation may have to do with hours of operations, things like that. So it just, each one of those is different.
Okay.
And just another quick question, follow-up there. Is it an exclusionary list? Like, for instance, if, I'm just going to be wild here, if it doesn't state that you can't have a soccer stadium there, does that mean that they can put that, if it's
No.
not there?
If
they have
it's-
to come in to,
Yeah, if it's not listed as a permitted use, it is not permitted. Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? All right. Entertain a first motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve docket PC 25-035-CP, concept plan for Bridal Oaks multi-tenant building in accordance with the UDO section 11.6D1, as presented and described in the staff report and staff recommendations and submitted findings of fact.
second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes 6-0. Entertain a second motion.
I'll make the motion again for PC 25-036DP, development plan for the multi-tenant buildings in accordance with the UDO section 11.8, as approved and presented based on the staff report and staff recommendations and the submitted findings of fact.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to items E and F, PC 25-037-PP, primary plat, and PC 25-038-CP, concept plan Chipotle.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Plan Commission. Thank you for this evening, for this opportunity. I am here this evening. My name is Mike Klingel. I'm with JSD Professional Services, Inc. We are national consultants, development consultants. I'm representing Meyer, the owner of the property, and in some regards, Chipotle, who intends on entering into a lease for this property after it has been developed as a shell, and will come in and fix up the interior for tenant improvements, and then operate under that lease. We're here tonight for two items. We're kind of going, I guess, the slow boat, I guess, because we're only doing primary plat and concept plan this evening, so not quite the dog and pony show. Well, I guess we're saving that one for the next go around here. So got the boring stuff. We are looking to subdivide to create a individual lot on the Meyer existing parking lot. We are just across the street here. Staff was very excited that they're going to have a Chipotle nearby. So everybody's familiar with where this is at, right off of Heartland Drive. The lot will be approximately 1.01 acres, referenced in the staff report as 0.9 and 0.91. But that will be the actual disturbed area. And between the time we submitted for primary and concept plan, it was augmented a little bit to bring the southern southeast corner of the lot down to make it a little bit cleaner and connect to the Botwell Drive down here. And that's what created the additional 10th of an acre. So it is 1.01 acres. Access, again, will be originally from Heartland Drive, from the south, though, Botwell, into the the easternmost access point into the what would have been Myers Eastern access point into their primary parking lot. Now will be directly into the southern access of the Chipotle, and then also from the main Meyer entry drive at the north, south into the outlot. We are looking for no deviations from code, no exceptions for this lot as it stands, and we are also following all necessary requirements from the Ansel subdivision, which there are also requirements there that they've put obligations on this as being part of that larger subdivision. The site plan itself, again, as I got into it a little bit, it is a drive-through proposal. The building itself is about 2,300 and some change square feet. It will be a one-way circulation. So as you come into the South Drive access point, you'll be taking an immediate right. All parking is about a 30-degree angled, kind of enforcing that one-way circulation. As you come around, enter into the drive lane for ordering on the east side of the store, and then circle around. There is a escape lane and a through lane, so folks that are entering in from the north can circulate down through the through lane / escape lane for the drive-through folks if they don't want to sit in the drive-through, and then take a left and then circulate back around to get into the drive-through lane. There is there's originally 743 parking spaces as approved for the Meyer location. This outlot will disturb 93 parking spaces of the original site plan. This layout here will put back 17 regular or standard parking spaces with 2 handicap spaces. So the Meyer lot will be left with 649 parking spaces to serve the Meyer. And if you guys have ever been out there, I'm sure all of you have visited. I've been out there half a dozen times myself to observe what's going on. All the parking is basically from entrance to entrance of the store in kind of a big U, all the way out to the Botwell Drive or Botwell Lane. Is where all the primary parking is, and lo and behold, the southeast corner and southwest corner of those lots are very sparse parking. So in doing what we're proposing to do, it's not really affecting heavy use of that parking lot, and that loss of 93 parking spaces is not necessarily going to have a huge effect on what's going on or the operations that's happening out there. And again, we'll be replacing of those 19 parking spaces for the use of the Chipotle effectively. There will be a fully enclosed trash receptacle enclosure there. And there will be a shared parking agreement for any kind of overflow employee parking, and that will primarily take place along those parking spaces that you're seeing there. I can actually pull this down a little bit further so you can actually see. And we've taken steps to have a pedestrian striped walk to those parking spaces for convenience and safety. This store will, or this restaurant will also feature a patio area for outdoor dining in the months of the year that will facilitate that. We are in the Midwest, so it won't be year-round. But it will be about 7 tables, some of which will have umbrellas, but about 20 seats will be allowed, will function out there as well. Again, we've met all of staff's comments thus far, which have not enumerated to too many. We are currently working with Christopher Burke's office as well as the Drain Commission to work through any issues that they have. And again, haven't been a lot, but we're working towards getting in front of the commission for that hearing. We're working through those issues. Like I said, there's not too many of them. They've asked for some additional information. We just resubmitted Friday to answer their first round of comments. We'll continue to work through those issues. I don't see any red flags whatsoever. We look for your approval this evening with staff's recommendation for approval on both accounts.
Yeah.
Both cases, I should say.
Thank you. Staff report.
Good evening, yes, again. Both the primary plat and concept plan have been reviewed through planning as well as our TAC committees. The issues to this point, as indicated, have been addressed. Just as a reminder, essentially the primary plat phase is required whenever we create a new lot. So this not being a part of the original subdivision for that area does kind of trigger that new primary plat. Ultimately, there'll be a secondary plat that is administrative, so Plan Commission won't see that. The development plan is the next phase of the concept plan, however, so that will be back before the Plan Commission. Staff is recommending approval on both PC 25037 as well for the primary plat, as well as PC 25038 for the concept plan. Happy to answer any questions you might have related to either one of those cases.
Yeah. All right, we'll open the public hearing at 7:18. Don't have anyone that signed up to speak. Regarding this item prior to the meeting, is there anybody who would like to speak or have any questions, comments? Anyone online?
No one online has requested to speak on this item.
Okay. Last chance, anybody in the room on this one? All right, we'll close the public hearing then at 7:19. Open up to the commission. Questions, comments?
I have one for the applicant and one for staff. So I'll do the first one. It looks like you're putting up, what kind of a barrier are you putting up from your lot to where the Meyer lot currently is? It looks like it's maybe some kind of a raised, like maybe concrete type thing. I'm just trying to figure out how you're going to differentiate your driving lane versus Meyer's parking lanes.
There's a curb, first of all, between that will define their driveway.
Okay.
And then there's a green space between there and then a curb that will define those parking spaces that I spoke about, that cross parking agreement that they'll likely be between Meyer and Chicopee.
Okay.
That will also be a physical barrier. But there will be a green space that's probably about, I would say, 25 feet wide, that there'll be landscaping there as well.
Okay, wonderful. And then my question to staff would be, is if we approve the primary plat, and if his deal falls through for some unknown reason, will another applicant have to come to us? Or will this will be kind of set in stone?
So the primary plat, yes, essentially is establishing an additional lot there. Now, if somebody came back with a secondary plat and the lot configuration was drastically different than this one, we would make them kind of go back through, make sure, again, access is, it's not creating any access issues, drive issues, things like that. But this is essentially establishing the ability to create one additional lot.
Okay, thank you.
All right. There's no other questions, comments. I entertain the first motion.
I'll make a motion to approve docket PC 25-037 P-PP preliminary plat for Chipotle, as it's in accordance with UDO section 9.2D, and based on the items presented and described in the staff report, staff recommendations, and the submitted findings of fact.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And I'd entertain a second motion.
Make a motion to approve PC 25-037 CP-CP, a concept plan for Chipotle, as it is in accordance with UDO section 11.6D and presented and described on the staff report, staff recommendations, and the submitted findings of fact.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate it, guys.
Have a good one. All right. We will move on to item G, PC 25-040-DP Development Plan, Mills on Main. Petitioner?
Good evening. My name's Chad Mays. I'm with Kimley Horn & Associates, located at 500 East 96th Street, Suite 300 in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm here on behalf of Brown Capital Group, more specifically the Mills on Main project team. Also with me is Brendan and Matt, my client with Brown Capital, to request approval for the development plan for Mills on Main. This slide's the project aerial with the site location overlaid on it, highlighted in red. It's on the east side of Main Street, north of Phipps Lane, and west of Albert S. White. The approximate address is 3689 South Main Street. It's a multifamily mixed-use development on 15.59 acres. 0.69 acres of that will be dedicated to public right-of-way improvements. The on-site portion contains 17 buildings, 10 of which are three-story apartment buildings. One building is a one-story amenity building, and then there are 6 one-story garage buildings. The total parking count's 396 spaces. So this slide kind of gives an overview of the design and approval process so far with the town. If you recall, on May 12th, we were here for concept plan, primary plat, and a PUD text amendment request. Subsequently, we went to the town council for first reading of that PUD text amendment on June 11th, and then followed with a second reading last week, July 9th. This slide shows Exhibit 3 of the PUD. You can see that the site resides within that residential and mixed use area. It's the pink highlighted area. This slide shows the on-site portion of the project. To the north is a proposed roadway extension denoted as Road A for now until a name's provided. It's at the west side is at the Indigo Blue Boulevard and Main Street, soon-to-be intersection. You can see there are 3 curb cuts on the north side of the site, the far west being a right in, right out, and the other 2 being full access. Building A on the far west side will contain a commercial use area at the very north end of the building. And then the proposed tension is on the south side. This slide gives a higher overview of the project portion that is the public roadway improvement denoted as Road A. To the north is a single-family development that's being performed by others. As part of that, about 300 to 400 feet of that future Road A will be extended west of Albert S. White to where we'll connect in at from Main Street over to that point. This slide shows the Type 1 building, which is buildings B, C, D, G, J, and I, as well as the materials which have not changed since the concept plan. This is the Type 2 building, same material type. These would be on, this Type 2 is buildings E and H. And then the Type 3 building is building F, same material list. And then finally is the longer building, building A, which is that long north-south oriented building on the west side of the site with the commercial space on the north side. So this rendering was shown at the concept plan hearing, but wanted to bring it back up here. This positions you on the north side of that future Road A, which would be kind of that northeast corner of that intersection on Main Street, looking south. The right side of the slide is where that commercial retail area will be with that hardscape space north of it for seating and servicing that commercial retail area. And then this is rendering on site. You can see the landscaping. I believe you're close to the amenity building here looking west towards that building A. I'd like to thank staff for guidance and answering our questions to get us to this point. As you can see here, the excerpt is recommending approval for the development. If you have any questions, Brown Capital or myself will do our best to answer those.
Staff report.
Yes, this is the third or fourth time, I think, this project's been here at the Plan Commission. Just as a reminder, the text amendment they did reference, council did get second reading of that here just last week at the council's July meeting. So that text amendment has been approved, and this project is inconsistent with, or is consistent with that text amendment. All other TAC review items have been addressed for the development plan approval. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of PC 25040, the development plan for Mills on Main. Happy to answer any other questions you may have.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll open the public hearing for this item at 7:29. I do have one person who signed up prior to the meeting to speak. Just a reminder to state your name and address for the record.
All right, good evening, gentlemen. Well, I'm just regular resident over here, so, and that's my first time attending this kind of meeting, so I might be a little bit nervous, so excuse me if I, making some sort of mess. All right, so I live on 3745 South Main Street, which is literally right next to that little corner on the development plan. I'm speaking on behalf of the house owner. So I'm here to respectfully express my opposition to propose this amendment. So this project is proposing a 10-story apartment building. Like that's probably the mainly building that they're proposing to, if I'm correct, understanding it correctly. And also a amenity center, retail space, but pretty much everything is directly adjacent to my single-family home. This density and scale are completely out of the character of the surrounding property and on our side of the main street over here, which have been pretty quiet and low density for a pretty long time. And like you say, this project has been over here for 4 times. I'm pretty sure that all the council members have considered a lot of different aspects and factors and stuff like that. But the proposal of building a well tower over my property with upper floor window can look literally directly into my window, removing my privacy, impacting our quality of life, and lowering our property value. And no one over there will even think about buying the property if those building has been built up later. Additional commercial space and extended roadway will also increase the traffic, noise, probably light pollution, and all the stuff. Beyond those lifestyle concerns, I do want to raise a measurable design-based issue with the visual impact that can cause by the height of those buildings. So I'm not a professional on this, architectural and urban design, but there's a very simple geometric formula we can use, delta equal to 2 times arctangent of h over 2d, which h is the height of the building and d is the horizontal distance from the observer. So in this case, say there's a buffer zone of 50 feet, which probably less than that, but say there's a 50 feet buffer zone between it, and the building, say 3-story, between probably 30 to 40 feet. Make it in the middle, say 36. We're looking at a visual angle of 39.6 degrees. It doesn't sound like a lot of degree, but with the distance that you have on it, the buffer zone that you have on it, it pretty much means when I look outside of my window, it will take a 2/3 of my view. So this isn't just theoretical, and studies in environmental and residential design show that anything above 30 degrees on the visual side begin to noticeable affect comfort, while angle above 50 degrees can create a wall-like enclosing effect. At just 20 feet away, a possible worst-case scenario, when I look outside of my window, I'm looking at a wall every single day when I will wake up. So as I speak over here, I think everyone knows my concern over here now. So I do understand Whitestown is growing very significantly, and that's part of the reason we moved over here. And I do support responsible and transparent development on this, but this proposal as written offers too much density, too much separation, and lack of safeguard for those us who already live over here. So I do ask Commission to either reject this amendment or require significant change that limits building height next to the home to no more than 2-story, create a buffer zone with landscaping or fencing, relocate any commercial building away from residential home. So I think the proposal is fair. So not necessarily need to make a large adjustment on that, but ensure a proper drainage and infrastructure planning on those. And finally, just please protect our neighborhood character. Do not sacrifice even just one existing homeowner in this name of unchecked development. That's all I got. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak on this item.
Patricia Brown, 6610 Ferguson Drive. We just don't know where is that on Main Street? Well, like in relation to like the roundabout and the gas, are we going into Whitestown or is that this way?
He'll have a chance again.
Oh.
It'll be the same as before.
Oh.
Take all questions and comments first.
Do what?
We'll take all questions and comments first. It's the same as last time.
Okay, we just want to know where it is on Main, we can't figure that out.
Yeah, he'll be able to address it once we close the public hearing.
So go sit down.
If there's anybody else who'd like to, well, unless you have more questions or comments, okay. We just don't do direct conversation between public comments and the petitioner. Any others in the room that would like to speak on this item? Or have questions or comments? Any online?
No one online has requested to speak on this item.
Okay. All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing at 7:36. Now, petitioner, you have a chance to address comments and questions.
Thank you. The first question, if you want to come look at the phone, then I can actually show you where it is. That's the easiest way to do it. Or the second question. So we're here. This Hattie's Coffee's house is up here, and then the Moontown Brewing is up this way. So further north along Main.
Go ahead, if you could speak in the mic still, though.
I was gonna say, I
It's
can do a,
It's south of Hattie's. You want to talk about that one?
Yeah, or you
as I
can
say, I can do
pull it
a
up on the map.
description, yeah, of where it is. So the entrance of Walker Farms, north of Albert S. White, it's immediately east of that intersection.
Does that answer your question? Thank you, Todd. And sir, thank you for your concern. I appreciate you expressing it. Chad, would you like to take a first shot, and then I'll kind of come over, or because you were writing furiously there. The first comment that I would make is this is not a 10-story building. That's what I heard him say. It's 10 3-story buildings. I can understand the mistake, but they are 3-story buildings. That has not changed from when we were ahead of you previously. Obviously, Chad has been working feverishly on the design of this project for quite some time, with heavy input from staff, and we have been before this body previously, and we have always done all that we could to take into account staff's concerns, also council's concerns. As you may know, Councilor Smock was very much interested in whether this building could have no backlit signage so as to not create light pollution for Walker Farms across the street, and we have agreed to make that concession and that concern. I am sorry that you are coming forward to us now, but we did try to reach out to you, and we did our best to contact you. We were unsuccessful in doing so, so I'm sorry that it has now gotten to this point where you're out in front of us, all of us like this. But if you would like to meet with us and see what we can do to address your concern, I would be happy to meet with you. I think that's the best way we can do it. I can't negotiate back and forth with you here, but certainly I would be happy to meet with you.
All right. All right, I'll open it up to the commission. Questions and comments from commission?
Because it's my understanding we don't require landscaping between like where they're building in the neighboring home. Is that correct?
So this is all within the Bridal Oaks PUD. The Mills on Main site, as well as the site to the south, the residential home, is all zoned the same.
Okay, so the home is in
That zoning does not require buffering between those uses.
Okay. I didn't know that the home was included
It
in
is.
that zoning. I thought it was left out.
No, it is included.
Okay, so it would probably be nice, hopefully you guys can work out maybe some kind of tall landscaping along the edge of the property, some big, tall shrub type stuff to kind of help.
We're happy to talk to
try to figure something
Forgive me, I
out.
forget your name, but we're happy to meet with him and talk to him about, his concerns and how we may be able to address them.
Thank you. 'Cause I feel for him. I wouldn't want to look at a 3-story building either, but there's not much we can make them do because it's not required, but it would be good, being a good neighbor.
Yeah, no, exactly. Any other questions?
So I'm waiting on the commission to see if there's any. Okay. Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve PC 25-040 DP development plan for Mills on Main, as presented and described based on the staff report, staff recommendations, and the submitted findings of fact.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you, commissioners.
All right. And I will move on to other business. Item A, Lake City Bank Development Plan Amendment.
Yes, this is just a notification to the Plan Commission regarding administrative approval or administrative amendment to the Lake City Bank project. This did receive concept and development plan already, but they are requesting a couple minor amendments to that that are consistent essentially with the administrative process. Specific items are the relocation of their dumpster enclosure, the existing location for the restaurant. Essentially, the dumpster will be moved approximately 20 feet to the east of that existing to allow for their drive-through locations. If you remember, initially on their development plan, they weren't sure if they were going to have an actual dumpster enclosure or just use regular kind of trash pickup. They have decided to include the dumpster enclosure, and it is consistent with our requirements. They've also added an additional drive-through service window for the bank. There is no net loss of landscaping or parking spaces for this site. So this is just a notification to the Plan Commission that staff has approved those amendments.
Just a quick question. It's unrelated, but it's that property. Are they in charge of maintaining that property currently, or is it?
They are, yes.
Okay. Hopefully, we can have code enforcement.
They've been over there a couple times, yes.
Okay.
We are eagerly waiting for them to start the remodel.
Okay. That's all I had. Item B, PC 25-044, UDO Chapter 7 Parking Standards Update.
Noah does have kind of those updates. He's going to get it over there and connected for you. He's going to try to give you a kind of quick, brief rundown of last month to this month and go from there. So.
Okay, so gonna go through the changes again, kind of a brief overview from last month, but I will pause and highlight some of the things that were updated from month to month. So all of the electric vehicle text is the same. We altered the increased landscaping, parking and landscaping provision to what was discussed, so maximum of 125%, and then increasing the option 2 then goes from to increase of 25% for every 12.5% the parking maximum is exceeded. The bike parking, this text is the same as well. And then after the discussion on the permitted bike rack types, change some of the permitted and excluded language so that if it's not, short of it being the comb and grid-based temporary type racks, anything else such as the wave racks just would require administrator approval. So if someone said we would like to do this, that's something that they could be allowed to do. The distinction is just between permitted by right and has to ask for approval, but continued from that, schools are still exempted from needing to meet any rack type or use. And then updated the graphic as well, just to provide a bit more clear example of what that looks like. The old version was not, I didn't think, quite as clear to that. Parking table changes, so this is, again, the ratios are all the same as far as what that looks like within the table. There was some slight adjustment to the bicycle parking ratios to bring some greater alignment. So we may have observed that there's 2 different standards, whether it's between parking numbers, parking stalls for vehicles, so commonly 1 per 30 stalls. And there were several instances of when based on square footage, that it was 1 per 20,000 square feet of gross floor area. However, when considering the, when looking at what that provided versus 10,000, the provided bike parking was out of balance. So revised standard for a number of uses was set to 1 per 10,000. I reference the table provided for specific examples. This is just that shown at, in a different way. So again, assuming a 20,000 square foot building, there's different parking ratios. And you can see how that compares between the square footage based standard and the vehicle parking stall based standard at different required parking ratios. Technically possible to have 1 rack for 100 parking stalls at the high end, and at the lower end it's 1 per 40. But you can kind of see how that scale slides. Is there any questions on section 7 before we move on to some of the others? Okay, I'll continue on. So, few new definitions, a little extra time, and some additional conversations. And so did some further refining. We'll start. So these are some of the art-related definitions. Might recall there wasn't a whole lot of definition on what an art, recreation, and entertainment might be. So a lot of these that you'll have read have to do with trying to define what art, recreation, or entertainment might mean. So went and pulled a variety of those. Art center, gallery, an artisan, and an artisan's workshop. Amphitheater and outdoor venue. notice that we did not have a data center definition, and that has been in the news off and on for a while. And so if that's potentially something that, you know, we may see or not, good to just have a definition for that, so we have one in there. Educational facilities, those are the same. Electric vehicle charging is the same. Added some text referencing IC 8-1-2-1. That's just the state statute definition for what a public utility is. Added a light vehicle equipment sales, rentals, and service definition. There did not used to be one, and there was a heavy equivalent. So just to provide that added context. Define manufacturing heavy and what those types of intense or more intense manufacturing uses might be. And then we also defined consequently what manufacturing light might be. Added museum. And then you'll recall last month there was some discussion around shopping center, regional, multi-tenant, and I'll go back to this. I realize I didn't touch on this, but we did revise the parking standard for that per the discussion. But shopping center regional is like the bigger shopping mall type uses, and then multi-tenant is kind of what you see along the main street there. Distinguishing between, you know, an outdoor mall versus a commercial tenant center. And then added definitions for stadium and theater. And then some expanded definition of utilities, major and minor. Again, that's something that we've referenced in the use table, but there was no definition for what that might mean for us. So have those defined, and then define what a public and private utility is as well, and deleted the old public utility definition, which just referenced what the state statute said, and industrial general, which is just a definition for the zoning district, since we already have that as part of the, at the outset of the description of industrial zoning districts. That was duplicative. And then are there any questions based off of those?
Any questions?
One real quick question. It's probably pretty obvious, but on the utility, since Indiana code is referenced by nature, then if Indiana changes their code, ours automatically pretty much complies, correct?
So it's, yeah, so the public utility definition, there's some of how the UDO would define it, and then included in that is if the state definition were changed, then we're already referencing that as part of that. So maybe the statute reference would change, but I'm not sure necessarily beyond that.
Yeah, so if the state made a change to the definition, as long as the code reference remained the same, we would not need to update ours.
Okay.
And just a question, are you in charge of drafting this document?
Sorry?
Are you the person that's in charge of drafting this document?
I did.
You did, okay. Just wanted to just point out on under the retail sales, personal service and repair, it's just a small spelling error. Just wanted you to draw your attention to it.
Sure.
For future, yeah. That's all.
Thank you.
No worries.
Let me real quickly try and show the parking. So parking change for the shopping center versus multi-tenant. Instead of having that 25% increase, just built that into the multi-tenant minimum requirement. So instead of being 2, like a shopping center is per 1,000 square feet of gross floor area, it's 2.5. So that, again, that 25% increase, if there's a restaurant use or some other more intense user, that just automatically at the outset adds that into the minimum. So that's what I was referencing earlier.
Okay, so I have a question then, because
Yeah.
I kind of asked this last month with the multi-tenant, like the issues that we have down here. And, you know, we just had the one that we did tonight. If a restaurant, it looks like the minimum for a multi-tenant, if they're doing a 5,000 square foot building, would technically be what, 20 spots on the max end of it?
So for a multi-tenant, like what we're talking about, it would be 25. Previously, the way the discussion was if it were, you know, enter uses here, one of which was restaurant. I know we talked about medical office as one of them as well. That 0.5 is the 25% increase, so it just automatically bakes that into it as part of the requirement. So at a 5,000 square foot building, that would add those 5 parking spaces as the minimum. It doesn't change the maximum, though obviously if someone needs more than what the maximum is, that's what the variance process is for as well.
Okay.
Well, they also have, as this proposal also has the potential for the 125%
Yes.
increase of the max, landscaping, things like that they can do before they would have to get the variance.
Okay.
So-
Because I think of 25 spots on a max, you know, some of those places may have 2 or 3 employees each. you
Right.
know, So then you're looking at technically knocking 10, you know, give or take spots off for employees, then you're really only left with 15 spots for 3 businesses.
So it adds 25% at the minimum, but it also adds for 25% potentially at the maximum, given certain criteria. So it's a 50% extra variability in the, it moves that upwards.
Okay. Just something to think about moving forward when we have these multi-tenants to come in that may possibly have, somebody, a medical office or a restaurant as a possibility to maybe increase the parking spots on
Sure.
the front end, instead of us trying to do it later.
As I say, we did not propose an increase at the top end, but if you would like us to look at essentially a 25% bump at the top end, right, that'd take that to 5 per 1,000 in there, essentially similar to what 25% at the bottom end. And we can certainly look at.
I know, it's a hard one because you don't
It's-
know what's going in there
Yeah,
when they come to present. It's kind of hard for us to.
But that's also what the landscaping provision allows for, that, that if they provide the extra landscaping,
Yep.
if they meet that, then the maximum is technically allowed to go up to that 5 per 1,000 without having to seek anything
Coming to us.
beyond that. So either, as Todd was saying, increasing the table maximum, or, this provision, if it needed to be tweaked, could be, either way.
And I think one thing that you guys talked about last time with the multi-tenant stuff, because if I remember correctly, you guys already look for signs that there might be a restaurant that goes in there, which if it's a multi-tenant shopping center, then let's say somebody proposes a strip center and you see, I think you guys referenced last month, if they wanted to put in a grease trap, that was kind of a big indicator on whether there might be a restaurant going in there. Then does that kick that building over into the restaurant portion of the parking, or does it still say Does that make sense?
It makes sense, yes. No, essentially what we were, going to the proposal that we have here, where it's just a straight, 2.5 for multi-tenant versus shopping center, eliminated kind of that need to, okay, is it medical office, is it office, is it restaurant? And essentially just build that 25% into the, knowing that even the first tenant, maybe the first 3 tenants might not be, but at some point there could be, right? So this kind of eliminates needing to know what that use is. And just assuming at some point in time, there's probably going to be one of those heavier users there.
So we're just trying to capture that on the front end rather than trying
Yes.
to react to it on the back end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bless you.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay. I will move on to the zoning districts portion, which is new.
As I say,
We need-
before you go, if the Plan Commission is ready to consider Chapter 7 or 12, we would be looking for a favorable recommendation from you on either one of those to proceed that on to council before we get to the new stuff.
I'll toss it out there. I'd be inclined to make a motion for favorable recommendation as presented tonight of PC 25-044, UDO Chapter 7 Parking Standards Update. I don't know if we need 2 motions, but I like the changes to the parking. I always fear of putting too much parking out there to begin with, and that's been my time on the commission and in transportation. The gut, the knee-jerk reaction always is more parking, and then we end up with massive amounts of parking lots. So I'm inclined to make a motion to approve what was presented tonight, or not approve, sorry, favorable recommendation.
I'll agree with what Andrew said. I mean, this whole document has been something that has been tweaked and modified as things progress and development needs, wants, all evolve. So, I mean, I think it's a step in the right direction. So I'll second it.
Okay, so motion for favorable recommendation for the parking standards, Chapter 7. I'm assuming we need 2 separate ones. They're on here as 2 separate items, so this is the first one, and there's a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Motion passes for the parking standards. I'll go ahead and continue on. I'll make a motion for favorable recommendation for PC 25-045, UDO Chapter 12 definitions update as well.
A second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All's in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, passes with favorable recommendation. So now we'll do the new item.
Now the new thing. So as we talked about a little bit last month, we've been working to create a couple new zoning districts that both for institutions and the parks specifically. So these are the new districts intents, and you can see what types of uses maybe they might be meant for. Institutions, again, we're talking, town halls, large worship facilities, other public facilities, and then parks and recreation is any public park or green space, noting that both of those still would have to go through the same development plan approval process that any other development has to go for. These are the lot requirements, so you'll notice the lot size for the institution, but parks, just given the varied nature, just no posted minimum or lot width or frontage. These are the setbacks for buildings, and this is both for institutional and Parks and Rec. And then these are the building height, lot coverage, ground floor area standards. The architectural standards, I'll just note, there currently isn't a reference for those architectural standards, so as part of that at some point, if these were adopted at some point, we would have to go through that effort of just defining what the architectural standards are. And that is true of other things as well, in terms of kind of going through the rest of the ordinance and adding in references to these districts, and whether it's adjusting the fence standards to allow parks to have a chain link fence, or other provisions that would kind of follow later. And then new districts, use table, so noting that P is permitted, L is subject to use limitations, NP is not permitted, and SE is special exception approval required, which is BZA. There are, instead of putting the whole table here, as you'll note from your materials, there are no residential primary uses that are permitted in either. Moving on to civic, public, and institutional uses, you can see the distinction between what might be permitted in the institutional public district versus the Parks and Rec. For example, community center is permitted in Parks and Rec, but would be a special exception in the institutional zoning district. Hospital, special exception, but not permitted in Parks and Rec. Moving on, again, you can see things like cemeteries and libraries and museums permitted in institutional, but that's not Parks and Rec use. Schools permitted in institutional, but not in Parks and Rec. And then same with public and religious assembly. These are those arts and eating and drinking type uses, so they might be permitted in public Parks and Rec, but special exception in institutional, and then restaurants not in the institutional district, but maybe as a special exception in certain parks uses, things like restaurants off of lakes, for example. And then no lodging or office uses permitted in either. No retail or vehicle equipment sales, service, and repair in the institutional, and the only, as shown, food sales or market would be permitted in public Parks and Rec. Think like your farmers markets, those types of arrangements. And then these are communications and information uses, and then industrial services. There's not industrial uses that would be permitted as part of this. The only transportation facilities, if we had a public transportation station hub, and then agricultural uses from farms to roadside produce stand, permitted in public Parks and Rec and not permitted in institutional. Those are just, I think, roughly how the permitted uses were envisioned. If there's different conception of what might be appropriate in public institutional versus Parks and Rec, certainly what this process is for. And then one note we did after the use table, there's a note section, and so note 7 was amended, given that the setbacks only reference the buildings. If it's just like a basketball court or something of that nature, it just defines a setback, and that would have to be amended in the other zoning districts as well. Because with the establishment of a Parks and Rec district, then eventually the instances of, a park in a residential district or commercial district, for example, would become less prevalent or go away eventually on its own as well. So, happy to answer any questions.
I had one real quick question. So I think it's the printout that we have hasn't been updated, because I noticed some differences between what you were presenting on the slide as far as permitted and not permitted, not matching up 100% with what we have printed out. Like if you back up, I think it was where it was talking about like restaurant, the restaurant slide. Keep going back.
The ag uses is the same. There's some that are have not been updated.
I went too far.
either.
Yeah, so eating and drinking establishments, like for restaurant class A, under public parks and rec, that has an SE. The printout here has NP, not permitted.
Okay, it must have the wrong.
Yeah, and I just noticed
the old edit must have been grabbed.
I agree with all the ones that you have in there. I just wanted to.
This is what you see on the screen is
the most current up to
yes.
date.
This is maybe
Yeah,
a red line because there's a comment here.
I say, we'll get you the updated version.
Okay.
Set out, tomorrow, so, yeah.
I just had two. The first question that I have is, under the building placement requirements, you've got under the garage along the street setback, for non-residential use, I'm thinking like you've got in here churches, schools, town halls. I'm thinking, just make sure I'm reading this correctly. It looks like a church could build in this zone and put a garage technically on the street. Is that correct? Because it looks like there is no setback.
As it currently is shown, that theoretically, yes.
Okay. And then the only other thing I noticed, and I don't know if it's a term we may need to update, under the cemetery. Technically, there's cemeteries and then there's gardens. And the only reason why I found this out because I was talking to Lincoln Memory Gardens, and they are not classified as technically a cemetery. They are classified as a park/garden because they have flat stones. Cemetery have raised stones. So I don't know if we want to add some terminology into our language somewhere or something to look at. It kind of threw me off, but when I went in to talk to them about something else, I learned that there is a difference between the two.
We'll double check how the state defines a cemetery. 'Cause I don't know
It was
that has-
weird.
There's not many parks I've been to with the.
Well, and that's because that was the question, because they don't allow, because they are technically a garden, they don't allow raised stones.
So I don't know that.
That could be a private regulation or
Right.
something on there, and I agree with Todd that we should check the state version.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that,
Definition.
Yeah, because I think their definition of cemetery is going to have more to do with what they're putting in the ground than what's above.
I know, I just thinking it was brought up, so I wanted to make sure that it's
A garden
on
sounds
the
a
up
little
and
more
up.
peaceful than a cemetery.
I don't think I'd want to be buried in a garden, but
Not that we have any of those coming, but thinking long-term, you never know. That was all I had.
Yeah, and so this one, like the last couple, right, if you guys take a look at those, have other feedback you want to share with us, we'll certainly take those into consideration. I know Noah mentioned there are still some, holes that we've got to fill anyway, so I don't know that we'll be ready for this to be back in August, but we will certainly kind of continue to move this along the process, and open to hear any other feedback you guys might have.
Appreciate all your hard work on this.
Thank you. All right. Any other announcements from staff?
No, sir.
Okay. Entertain a motion for the last item.
Make motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All right. Have a good evening.